now got to make an allowance just here for the big thread which drives the Z-axis, which sits just in front of the maker slide, which is in this recess. So that's 12 by 12. Now there's a nice circle there, and that's radius is going to be 6, and it's going to be 6 up from this line. Now, in order to position that for simplicity, so I don't have to do any calculations, I'm going to draw a line, and if you look there, it's now offering me the center position there, and I'm going to go up to here, angle of 90, and a distance of 6. Add. So there I've got a line which is not going to be part of the final job, but it's there to help me position a circle. So I've gone to the circle command, I'm going to that point there, and I'm going to specify the radius as being 6. I'm going to say apply. So there I've got this circle created, but we're only going to be using half of it. And so I'll close that. And now I want a straight line that goes from the edge of this circle down to this rectangle cutout. Now, if I zoom in on this, now I've got the line command selected. And if I move to the left-hand side of the circle, you can see that the little aiming markers appeared. I can press the left-hand mouse button and I can start drawing. And if I go down to here, I've got my aiming mark again. That means if I press that, I've now created a straight line from the edge of that circle down to that line as part of that rectangle. So I'll escape out of that, and there it is there. At this point, I can just delete that line I used to create the circle. Now let's do the line command again and do it from here. There we go. But I don't want this bottom piece of the circle. So I'll just go across here to the pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut this part of the circle and this part, because it cuts until it meets a line. So it's only cut that quarter away, and I'll get the other segment there, and that's fine. Actually, we don't want this bit here either. So if I use the scissors command again, there we have it. And if I now zoom out, you can see that's what we've done. Right, I'm now going to start on all these curves, and I'm going to start with the ones that are associated with where the bristles are going. So it's this sort of inner shape here. And I want them to be concentric with the two circles that we've already drawn, the one for the router and the one for the dust hose. So I'm going to do this one first. So I'm going to my circle command, and I want to have it at the same center, and I've moved the cursor and I've got the aiming mark. Now I want my radius to be 10 millimeters more than the radius of that big circle. Now if I click there and then start moving this out, and I can keep going until I see my radius or diameter. I want that radius to be 47, which is 94 millimeters. I could try and get it exact. That's as near as I can get it. I'll just go to here and I'll just type in 94 and apply. So I'm now going to do the same thing over here, and in this case I'll just find that center mark, there it is, and I'll drag this out until it's approximately right. That's 56 millimeters in diameter. Right, we've now got to start defining the shape that joins these two circles together. Now you could do different things than I've done. I've used curves to join these circles together. But for example, the top ones here, you could have a tangent. Now, after I made my previous video, Vectric sent me an email and said, you went about that in a very laborious way. Why don't you use a gadget? And it's called tangents. And you see it there. If I click on that gadget, tangents, please select one or more vectors to label. So I'm going to select one, and I'm going to go for the second one. And I'm going to go back to the gadgets now and go tangents. And if you look closely, what it's done is I've identified those two circles, and this tangents gadget has added all of the tangents between those two. There's one at the top, one at the bottom, and there are two in the middle here. If you don't have the Vectric gadget installed that you want, go to their gadgets page, and I'm there now. I'll put the link up for you. Go to drawing, and here we find tangents. You just click on that and you can then install it. And you don't need to do anything other than a couple of clicks and then it's done. Now, I don't want to use this bottom one because it was too close to this point here. But I could use that top one. And so I could just delete this one. And I'll zoom in here so I'm delete that one and delete that one. I'll zoom out again. And so that would pass as part of my construction. And for the illustration of this video, I'm going to leave that there. But now I'm going to show you how I went about the curve part, which you could apply up here if you wish to. Let me just zoom in a little bit closer here. So I'm now going to draw a line from the centre of this circle and from the centre of that circle, and the line is going to go through the points where I think a joining curve should start and end. And there's that second line drawn there. Now I now need to measure the distance between the intersection here and the intersection here. And that distance is about 33 millimeters. Now I now want to draw a circle that sits on that intersection there, and I want its radius to be less than 33, I'll say about 28. So if I make that 28 and then apply. So there's my first circle. I'm now going to repeat that process. I want it to be on that intersection, so I've just got to click this time. And now it's unfortunate that you can see that this is very close to this line, but I want to now do another circle which is centered on the intersection of those previous two circles. So I've zoomed in a bit. There it is. Now I'm now going to close that, and I'm now going to zoom out so you can see what I've just done. I'm now going to remove this circle and this circle. And the piece we want to keep is that piece there. I'm going to get rid of this line, and I'm going to get rid of that line. And I'm now going to use my scissors command to get rid of the bits I don't want. I don't want that. I don't want that. Oh, I did want that. Undo, undo. Don't want that, and I don't want that. Now, when I tried to trim this piece here, it got rid of the whole of that sector. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to zoom in very closely. And it must be that these two aren't quite touching. So what I'm going to do for simplicity is I'm just going to draw a line. I'm going to draw a line roughly through the centre there, like that. And now I can apply my scissors to here. And I'm now going to zoom back out again, and I've left that little bit of line there because I'll use that when I'm going to trim this bit of circle shortly. And I think now you can see that if I now take my scissors command again, I should be able to trim this, and I should be able to trim that there. And so now we've got what is actually quite a good shape for the place where the bristles are going to go. If you want to have a rounded shape like this, just here, you can do the same again. But now we have one issue, and that is the fact that this and that don't join. So I'm going to zoom in really close. I'm going to get rid of that line, and I'm going to highlight these two, and I'm going to go to the join open vectors command. And there I've joined those two together. Let's zoom out. Now I've now got one entity there which goes all the way around. I actually would like, if I press the shift key, to join all the other bits as well. And I'm going to go to the join vectors command again. Join. Now, if I now click on that, you can see that's all one vector. Well, that was easy. Now we've got to produce the outer shape. Good idea to do a save. Now at this point, I'm going to add a couple of construction lines just to make life simpler. I'm going to add one from the end of this line here to the center of the circle. And then I'm going to have it going vertically like that. So those are just simple construction lines which will help me make a few choices in a minute. Now I'm now going to have a circle centered here which will form part of the curve that's up here. And I want it to be about 4 millimeters beyond where we've got the bristle, because the bristle is actually going to be on the inner side of that line. So about 4 millimeters gap. So I'm going to go to my circle command. There's my center. If I were to stop there, the radius would be 47. So I want it actually to be 51. I'll go in here and I'll just say 51. Apply. So I've now got the makings of a circle there. I now need another circle centered here, which again is about 4 millimeters greater than this one. So I'm going to hover over there. There it is. And I could sit there like that. And that would give me 28 millimeters. So I want this to be 32. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say 32. Apply. So I've now got two circles and I can use my tangent command to draw the line at the top there. But I first of all got to highlight, press the shift and highlight the second circle, go to gadgets and tangents. Now I now need to get rid of the redundant tangents. At this time there are only two there, one there and one there. We want the top one, so I'll just get rid of the bottom one. And that's that gone. So now we've got the makings of our outer shape, but over here we want it to go to that point there. I'm going to go to the circle command, I'm going to have it centered here, I'm dragging it out so it's going to that point there. Now what I want to do is to move this circle down. So I'll close that, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take a very sneaky look at this distance from there to there. And that's a distance of 16 millimeters. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take this circle, I'm going to then move it downwards by 16 millimeters. That said 97, so I'm going to make that 81. So I've now moved that down the required amount. I'll close that, deselect there. I'll get rid of my two construction lines. There they go. I'm now going to just zoom in here a little bit, and I'm going to use my scissors command to get rid of that odd piece there. I'm just coming out again. Just come out again, and now it looks quite a mess at the moment. We only want a small part of that section, so I'm going to get rid of what I don't need. I don't need that, don't need that, don't need that. Don't need that piece, don't need that piece, don't need that piece. I'm still going round. Don't need that piece, don't need that piece. Don't need that piece. And the other things we need to get rid of are, of course, the rest of this circle, which goes around. Don't need that. Just get in here, get that bit out. And we're nearly there. I need to get rid of the rest of this smaller circle here, which we don't need. And I've now got to sort out this corner here. So I'm going to trim this piece out. Well, that's the end of part 2. Just one more part to go. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.